Over the last 6 months, we've been experimenting with welding steel to titanium. It is incredibly difficult. We successfully made a chef's knife, but today I want to see if it's possible to weld steel Damascus to titanium Damascus and make an axe that I don't think has ever been made before. Please do check out the rest of the videos in this wild journey that has been trying to figure out this stuff. The vision is to make a fusion of historic axe making techniques where instead of a wrought iron body with a steel cutting bit, it is a titanium Damascus body with a steel Damascus cutting bit. But in order to start, we need to make our titanium Damascus. We've got two incredibly expensive sheets of material here. This is all about 2,000 pounds of titanium. This sheet right here is grade 5 titanium, which is stronger and more corrosion resistant than grade 2 titanium. It's these two alloys' differences that allows us to get a pattern in the first place. So we're going to cut them up into bits so that we can stack it up, pump the box full of argon while we heat it in order that we can weld it without any oxygen. I'm bleeding! Need to make a guide so that we can always cut our material square. Don't know why I'm using brass. I guess it's... What? Brass. What? It's been so long since I bought this, I can't remember how expensive it is. Couldn't be better. Thank you, sir.
Couldn't be any more efficient, could it?
This is unbelievable, Jamie. Look at this production, bro. I'm trying to learn my lesson this time. I usually end up making billets that are way too small, and then I'm upset about it the whole time I'm making whatever I'm making. This time, we're making the biggest billet of titanium Damascus that I've ever done. Still not convinced that ultrasonic cleaners do anything. This is just gonna be utterly monstrous. Look at that. That is gonna be half a billet. That is our grade 2, and it is 3.3 kilos. The grade 5, 3.7 kilos. I pulled up the invoice and delivery note to work out how much those sheets weighed. They reach about 18 kilos, which means that titanium sheet costs me 60 pounds per kilo, meaning that is 420 pounds of titanium.
Yeah, brother, blaze it.
It's the 17th, it's not for 3 days, Jamie. That's a lot of money's worth of material. We're gonna try and keep all that dust free, take some measurements, and build it a little house. How is this possible? I put so much clearance in this thing and the titanium doesn't fit. Why? Much better. The argon tube. 5, 2, 5. A bunch of 2s. 2. On with the argon. We've got the hose hooked up that is pumping argon through the billet. The argon stops there from being any oxygen, enabling us to get a good bond. Wow, that's brilliant. It's been cooking a long old time. We're at 891 degrees Celsius. Turn on the hammer, and it's welding time, baby. Usually, that's all we need, just one heat, but this is the biggest billet that I've ever made of this titanium Damascus. And because I'm a little bit scared about whether I was able to hit it hard enough for all of it to bond, I'm gonna do a second heat. Woo! Hopefully that's welded. Now, because it's titanium, I don't need to wait 4 hours for it to cool down. Oh, f***. Ah! Couldn't find my torch. Right, we are gonna cut into this box, extract the titanium so we can see how it looks before going into the forge to forge it down to shape. No! That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of titanium stuck to the lid. We can only but hope the rest of the billet is solid, but who knows? Oh, God, can you imagine if I just wasted 450 quid's worth of titanium? Split halfway. This billet is so big that steam hammer isn't affecting the individual layers as well and putting as much pressure on those bonding areas as it does when it's a much smaller billet. Could have maybe gone a higher temperature to account for that in order to get more plastic deformation, better bonding. No, that's even worse than I thought it could be. This looks solid. That has another fracture right there. Okay, this looks like a solid bit of titanium. I mean, it's still bigger than any billet that I've made ever in titanium, but a lot smaller than it's meant to be. We might actually have got lucky here. What I thought was more complete separation looks like it's just the layers on the edges where it doesn't weld. So it might be solid enough that, again, we can have almost all our material and bond it. Hopefully we got lucky, and the worst thing that comes out of this is that instead of working as one billet, we work it as two. Whoa! Do you see that? What the hell was that? Something just popped, and it sent a spark all over the place. Oh! Come on! It just popped it in two. Well, now we have 3 billets.
Hey, that was quite cool though, wasn't it?
That's fine for you to say.
It was pretty cool.
No!
It just popped apart.
No! That's tragic.
I want to see it again with this billet.
No, I don't want to see that, Jamie. I'm just going to send it with the small one. Put the small one in. Have a tongue imprint in it. It does make for a funny way to hold material though. Look at that. Ah! Wow. Got a little bit carried away with the treadle. I think we're just calling that up. Ah! This billet split again. This one's getting even smaller. You see that gap in the far right side? So this billet's getting even smaller. Brilliant. Bloody delightful. Not winning today.
Do you wish you surface grinded now?
Still be surface grinding them if I did. I went ahead and I used the air tool, this thing, to clean up all the surfaces. They all got some sort of abrasion to them. I just don't think I got anywhere near to enough pressure on the bonding areas because you can still see the mark from that air tool. So I didn't even squeeze it together enough that those marks deform. I don't, at this point, have the choice of having more pressure because I was beating on it with all the force of this steam hammer, everything possible. And so the only way that I can work around this is by going up in temperature. Now we know one of the downsides of going up in temperature with welding titanium, diffusion bonding titanium, is that the iron in the steel canister that we use to protect it from the argon, that iron reacts with the titanium, forming an intermetallic compound that has a lower melting temperature than either steel or titanium, and we saw how that looked the first time around. It's incredibly dangerous. So there's going to be a point at which we can't get the material any hotter, we can't apply more pressure, and the billet size is going to be too large for it to be possible without risking that dangerous nuclear piss. Might be I should have had a way smaller billet, but I think next time around I'm going to go up in temperature. We know that we can go higher. I'm going low to play it safe, to be reasonable, but I know that we can go higher. We bonded this at 875 degrees Celsius. We get that squirting problem when we start going to like 1100 degrees Celsius. So we've got a range where we can raise the temperature, and I think that's just going to have to be what I do next time. I mean, it kind of looks stuck. Looks like one piece. I don't think there's any purpose hitting the sides. Normally, we'd turn it up on its side in the dies, smash it that way, begin doing something to the pattern. But these seams are so open that we're just going to be pushing those as cracks deeper into the material, causing us to have to remove even more. So I think what I'm going to do is we're going to cool it down, take it to the mill, get everything off the sides. All those open seams have to be gone before we can continue manipulating the pattern. Third billet. A long old time, Jamie. So I'm now trying to work out if I weld these two back together. I think I just might. We have to get them to a matching width, then we have to clean up two faces, quick box, bish bash bosh, and then we get back to big billet. I've always had a thing about axes. It was one of the tools that really inspired me as a young budding blacksmith. I've got a vivid memory from my early teenage years of a blacksmith who had a YouTube video
filmed of him making an axe. Gorgeous cinematography, beautiful craftsmanship. And I remember seeing all the views it was getting and just imagining how powerful of a marketing tool that one video was. And that actually was probably a pivotal point in me ever becoming a YouTube blacksmith and helped me get so interested in video making. But seeing the success that that video had gave me the belief that actually, as a craftsman, it is possible to build a business and sell your products all over the world. And to sell your products all over the world, you're gonna need a great website, which is why Squarespace is awesome. Because its whole goal is to empower you to run your business how you want and sell your products how you want. It's exactly what I needed when I started. I didn't have the money to hire a web developer, which is why I found Squarespace and built my first websites with them. I was making something for sale and instantly listing it on my Squarespace site. It helped make me look far more professional than I actually was, to have a beautiful looking website thanks to their countless drag and drop themes. And as my business evolved and changed over the years, so can my website. Whether you sell physical or digital products, or you sell your time and you want to use Squarespace's scheduling features, or you want to sell pay-to-access content with Squarespace member areas, they've got you covered. And so please go give building a website with Squarespace a try at squarespace.com/forge. You'll get a 2-week free trial, and code FORGE gets you 10% off your purchases with Squarespace and lets them know that we sent you. Let's get back to it. I've got it a good bit hotter than it was, 950 Celsius. So hopefully it's gonna be soft enough that we can get enough pressure on it for it to bond. First time, this time. What the? What is that? What the is that noise? What is that? You know what I mean? Like, something seriously weird is going on. It's like I can't get it to start stroking and idling. Usually I can give the pedal a little bump and I can get the steam hammer to start beautifully moving back and forth. So we're now gonna go to the Stanco, which is slightly smaller hammer. It's also got narrower dies. It's gonna move less material overall than the steam hammer, but that's what we got for now until I can troubleshoot that. Same old, gotta let it cool down, gotta break it apart, gotta see if it's stuck, or if we're just giving up selling the workshop and buying a motorcycle.
Yeah, I can see it. Half the gasket's blown off there.
Yeah, well spotted. We've blown a gasket! So Jamie found these bolts were loose, and there's a gasket that looks like it's kind of moved about and blown out. The gasket doesn't look like a gasket anymore, does it? That is meant to be a ring. I think that perhaps the noise we were hearing was this gasket acting as a reed. The air was escaping underneath it and it just which is why we turned our steam hammer into a saxophone. Oh yeah. I can't make you jump at all. Inside diameter of 64, outer diameter 89. This is our gloriously expensive graphite sheet that we will make it out of. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do a very neat job cutting this out by hand, but I have an idea. We've got a Wazer. It'll cut anything. Holy moly! Righto. Yeah, look at that, Jamie. Perfect. Ta-da! Unfortunately, right on time, the titanium is cool. I think it's stuck. Jamie, I think it's stuck. I think it's properly stuck. This is amazing. I think it's super interesting to note that titanium Damascus, really the two alloys forge so differently. Look how much that grade 2 is squished out relative to the grade 5. It's wild, and I think that explains a little bit of why it's so difficult to make Damascus out of, and why we have so much wastage, so much material to grind off, which is every time we forge it, some of the layers, they squirt out. Some of them stay still. Then those ones that squirt out end up getting forged back into the side of it, forming tiny little cracks, hence why in all of our previous titanium Damascus work, it's taken us so much time on the milling machine to get through the skin of poor material before it looks clean. I'm sure there's some sort of lesson there, but I'll leave that to somebody else to figure out. Let's heat her up and forge her down. gonna forge a handle onto it so I can hold on easier. Much easier. Frickin' titanium! Look at those cold shots. Why do the coolest metals have to be the hardest to work? Thing just formed some awful cold shots. Not even on any seams. Just the nature of the way titanium forges. It's just not as nice to forge as steel. Look at that nasty cold shot there. Yeah. Tell you what though, if we were able to get that pattern looking like that the whole way through, I'd be pretty chuffed. But it might just be that's on the end. What I've gone ahead and done is I forged the billet round, and then we crushed it with the grain up on end, which usually forms these C's that are facing each other, which when you stack become W's. It'd be epic if it made that though. While that cools down, I want to revisit what the end goal is with this. Titanium body, steel edge. Just like axes of old. Historically, axes were made with a different material for the edge than the body. And it used to be, obviously not titanium, but wrought iron for the body of the axe because it was cheap, and then a high carbon steel bit for the edge because that's the only place where you really needed it. Nowadays, axes are one alloy the whole way through, and so this is a historic technique, and installing a steel bit in an axe used to be done a number of ways. Option number one, the steel bit would be chiseled into and then placed over top of the wrought iron body and then forge welded together. I'd argue more popular was chiseling into the wrought iron body and then inserting a steel bit into that before forge welding it. There's also the wraparound method where some flat bar is bent into the form of an axe. The high carbon steel is inserted between those bits of flat bar, wham bam, thank you ma'am, that becomes the top-down view of an axe. The big challenge for us of installing a steel cutting edge onto a titanium-bodied axe is that the bonding surfaces need to be incredibly clean. With steel and iron, you can get away with it not being super clean. It's forgiving to forge welding, which is why iron and steel became such incredibly important metals for us. Both the steel and titanium need to be perfectly clean. We need to be able to seal them off from oxygen when we bond it. Our biggest limitation is making sure that we can clean the bonding surfaces and making sure that we can keep them free of oxygen. I've got an idea based on these historic methods for how we can do it, and I hope to share that with you in the next episode of making this titanium Damascus axe with a Damascus steel edge. It's going to be sick if it works. Please be sure to go build yourself a website at squarespace.com/forge. And be sure to go ahead and have a lovely day. I appreciate you being here. Bye-bye.